My name is Corporal Trevor Krantz, and I will be giving an unclassified brief on issuing a FRAGORD, otherwise known as a fragmentary order, colloquially known as a FRAGO. The risk assessment for this brief is low. Some things to keep in mind would be any potential fire hazards in your AO, and as well as the safety exits and how to get out in the event of a fire. Also be tracking any inclement weather in your area, and be aware of what to do and where to go in the event of said inclement weather. The agenda for this brief is we will be going over the Army regulations. Like anything else in the Army, there are regulations on how to issue a FRAGORD and how to create a FRAGORD. In this case, it is a field manual. We'll be going over what a FRAGORD is, as well as how to create a FRAGORD. We'll be conducting a FRAGORD PE, FRAGORD practical exercises based on a fictional circumstance that I created. After that, I'll be answering any questions that you may have on information that I didn't cover, as well as an after-action review. The references for this brief and issuing a FRAGORD is FM 6-0, that's Field Manual 6-0. The title of that field manual is Commander and Staff Organization and Operations. More specifically, Appendix C defines and explains how to create different orders, WARNOs, OPORDs, and FRAGORDs. More specifically, you can find in Appendix C, page 25, Appendix C 25, a format labeled Figure C-5, and that's a template of a FRAGORD. This is Figure C-5, the template from page C-25 of Appendix C in Field Manual 6-0. This is just a basic outline of what your FRAGORD should look like. You can find PDFs online and download them, in which you would just have to fill in the information, but this is what it basically looks like, the basic template. I know there's a lot there and it's very compact, but we'll be going over each step and each process, each paragraph in a FRAGORD. What is a FRAGORD? A FRAGORD is a fragmentary order. The word fragmentary means consisting of small parts or incomplete. They're used to change or modify existing orders, op orders, and they may be issued in pieces, which goes back to the incomplete part, the small parts. They are issued in pieces, and they do save time. FRAGORDs do save time, and the way they save time is that if we didn't have FRAGORDs, anytime there was a change in a circumstance, a situation, a mission, the execution of the mission, we would have to create a new op order every time. And that would definitely take a lot more time. So we have FRAGORDs that we can tack on to the op order, and there can be multiple FRAGORDs, and so we don't have to recreate the op order every single time there's a change. And as we know in the Army, change tends to be the rule rather than the exception. This is the header for an op order. It's pretty basic. It is also from Figure C-5 of Appendix C, Field Manual 6-0. You can see the classification, as well as the copy number of copies. So if you made 20 copies of this FRAGORD and this is copy 3, it'll say copy 3 of 20 copies. Fragmentary order, number. So depending on how many FRAGORDs you've issued or have been given out, this will be the example they gave is FRAGORD number 1 to op order 3411. So it would be FRAG order number 1. This is the first FRAG order of this operational order 3411, Operation Desert Dragon. Alright, paragraph 1 is simply the situation of the FRAGORD. This is any updates to the situation in the op order. There may not be any updates. More likely than not, more often than not, there's going to be an update to the situation or the mission. One of those most likely will change as a result of the FRAGORD. The example I gave for this circumstance is that my apartment is on fire. It's not on fire, but for the circumstance, for the situation, the fictional scenario, my apartment's on fire, and that's the situation that I find myself in. I'm not going to offer any solution or a way to solve that problem. Just paragraph 1 is the situation, and that's the change, is that my apartment is on fire, whereas it was not in the hypothetical op order. Paragraph 2 is the mission. This is any updates to the mission. Again, may not change. Likely the situation or the mission will change. In this case, the situation changed. The mission is not changing. The hypothetical op order, the mission would have been to provide a briefing on issuing a FRAGORD. That has not changed. The mission is still to issue that brief on issuing a FRAGORD. Alright, paragraph 3 is the execution. This is updates to the execution of the mission. There may not be any updates, but more likely than not there will be, especially if the mission or the situation has changed. If the mission or situation has changed, generally the execution will change to overcome those changes. The mission didn't change, but the situation did, therefore the execution will. The example I gave was that my apartment's on fire, so the new execution is that I, Corporal Krantz, will create the brief at a different location. There's no change for the audience of the brief because it's virtual, but the circumstance, the mission has changed. I'll be creating a brief somewhere else. Alright, paragraph 4 is sustainment. This has to do with logistics, movements, maintenance, supply. The sustainment for this brief is I need a laptop to create my brief, I need a screen to present my brief, and I need a camera to record the brief. The sustainment has not changed from the op order. Those were the initial sustainments in the op order. So paragraph 4 of the op order, as well as paragraph 2, because the mission didn't change, you would just simply write no change. Paragraph 5, command and signal. This is the commander location and signal requirements. So there was a change in paragraph 5 because the mission changed. The mission change is that the brief will be given somewhere else. So the op order would have had maybe perhaps my 8-digit coordinate of my apartment where I would initially give the brief, and the new 8-digit coordinate is my city library where the brief will now be given hypothetically. The signal requirements did not change. I still need Wi-Fi to upload the brief and DCS to fulfill my BLC requirements. So the only change here was the location, the location of the commander in this circumstance. Alright, we're going to create a FRAGORD based on this outline. This outline would be how one would create an op order. Mount Marcy is the highest point in New York State. On average, it takes about 7 hours to hike to the top. Alpha Troop 2nd 101 Cav of the New York Army National Guard will be conducting a ruck march to the top in under 7 hours. Alpha Troop 1st Platoon will step off no later than 1200. Platoon 2 will step off no later than 1300. The current forecast is clear skies with a high of 65 and a low of 45 degrees. Each soldier will carry with them a rucksack with no less than 50 pounds, an ACH, a flick, and an IFAC. Alpha Troop will meet at the base of the mountain no later than 11:30. Soldiers will carry their personal cell phones for communication, as well as a safety whistle in the event of an emergency. So this is the fictional scenario that I've created. You can create an op order with this, and we will be creating a FRAGORD based on the potential changes to the hypothetical op order. So paragraph 1, the situation. A weather pattern with blizzard conditions previously moving west has shifted back and is heading toward the Adirondack Mountains of New York State. It is expected to reach Mount Marcy by 1800. So whereas there was clear weather conditions, there are now poor weather conditions, blizzard-like conditions, which is a situation change. So this is the new situation. Paragraph 2, mission. There's no change to the mission. As a result of modern technology, we know when the storm will be and can thus plan accordingly. So there's no change to the mission, there was a change in the situation. So under paragraph 2 in the FRAGORD, we will write no change. Paragraph 3, execution. First platoon will now step off no later than 0900. Second platoon will step off no later than 1000. So based on the change of situation, the execution has changed, and that the platoon will step off earlier now. Paragraph 4, sustainment. In addition to a rucksack, an ACH, a flick, and an IFAC, Soldiers will now be required to have the appropriate snivel gear and a fleece cap. So now the soldiers of Alpha Troop are required to carry more gear. The sustainment, the supply, what they're required to have on them has changed. Paragraph 5. Command and signal. Alpha Troop will now meet at the base of Mount Marcy no later than 0830. Signal requirements have not changed. So to make up for the earlier step-off times of each platoon, Alpha Troop will meet earlier. That is a change in the command location. The Alpha Troop will meet the commander at the base of the mountain no later than 0830, whereas the initial op order would have said 1130. The signal requirements have not changed. Nothing about this situation has affected the signal requirements. In this case, personal cell phones, which are often used in training missions in the National Guard just because they're handy, as well as perhaps a whistle to signify an emergency on the ruck march. Alright, so to go over what we talked about, we went over the references, the Training Manual 6-0, specifically Appendix C, specifically page C-25, chapter C-25, and figure C-5, which is the format of the template, but Training Manual 6-0 is where you will go to find the information on creating a FRAGORD. We discussed the FRAGORD as well as its purpose to supplement an op order, to add changes for existing mission, situation, execution changes. We went over the steps of a FRAGORD, paragraphs 1 through 5, and we did a FRAGORD practical exercise together in which we created our own FRAGORD based on a circumstance. Alright, do I have any questions? One question might be, where can I find a template for an op order? That's a good question. You can find a template for an op order also in Appendix C. Figure C-3 is the template given in Training Manual 6-0, but that's found on page C-22, whereas the template for the FRAGORD is found on C-25. Alright, we'll be doing an after-action review now. Do I have any improvements or sustainments? And one sustainment might be the FRAGORD practical exercise was useful. Now that we've gone over a FRAGORD, the audience might be more comfortable in creating a FRAGORD themselves. And an improvement might be specifically a combat-oriented practical exercise. FRAGORDs can be used for training missions as well as real-life missions, combat scenarios. So maybe an improvement could be also including a FRAGORD based on a combat scenario to see how those two may differ and see the similarities. Alright, this has been an unclassified brief on issuing a FRAGORD. Thank you.